I'm only going live because I don't feel like downloading this shit on my phone and then uploading it. You know what I mean? So I'm just gonna record what I gotta say here in the live, and I don't care if anyone comes. You can just go back and watch it. But this conversation is about two times, and I'm not talking about like two times that exist in the same time frame. I mean two times that exists, one that you're awakened to and one that you fall asleep to. You know what I mean? And it was crazy because I really listen to myself a lot. I have to pay attention sometimes closely because I'm steady tapping into electricity. And the electricity, I'll speak something that has a particular understanding, and then that particular understanding really meant something else. You know what I mean? And I would use it. So like yesterday I was talking about or the another video I did, I was talking about the sleeping wizard. And see what's crazy about that, and I had a dream about it last night. Like it was just that one thing I had a dream about and it was real dope. So um let's just say, and then they tell you, even they say once one rules, then another rule comes in after a certain period of time, right? So let's just say that the part of us that we're looking for is literally sleep right now. You know what I mean? It's sleep deep down inside of us, you know. So we're going on autopilot on a weaker version of self because it's not time to rule right now. Almost like saying the version of the sarcophagus is inside of us, right? So not being able to access is only because you have a different spiritual awareness that step backwards and one step forward, so therefore you can live in this time but not rule, almost like keys to a door. So then we get wrapped up in all the fear mongering, we get wrapped up in all the circumstantial situations, the emotional conductivity, the falls and rises, the manipulations, and we think, particularly that these things are doing us a certain way by purpose. Well, in fact, that the time for what's ruling should be because they have to learn how to rule correctly, which we see they don't do too well. You know what I mean? So that's the witness, or you know what I mean, the watchers. You know what I'm saying? So we get so mixed up in trying to solve the situation. Like I was listening to the goddess earlier, and she was saying a lot of deep shit. You know what I'm saying? And particularly, it made me think about something. When she said she was saying, a lot of us don't talk about it, but we all deal in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Like if we might not want to, but we still dealing. And what's crazy about that is in the beginning of that book, it was, Adam blamed Eve, Eve blamed the serpent, right? So then particularly you have man over woman and the serpent over man, right? So it just it made me like think about certain things because the kid that's inside of me is little, and I can go talk to him, and it's me when I was 5 years old. You know what I mean? I can go talk to him, and when I go deep down inside me, he runs up on me and hugs me. He says, "Hey man, what's up? What's going on?" And I remember the energy of who I was, you know. And it sometimes it doesn't bring me to tears. It brings me to this form of joy that's just like unexplainable. It's just a different form of joy, and I want to look out for him so much. And then I look back and I'm talking to him and I'm telling him, I'm like, man, all those things we went through, and he's like, it's okay, it's all right, cause you're here, you know. And I be wondering what he mean, cause I'm here. You know what I'm saying? Like, so. All right, let's get to the point. Uh, we feel so connected to one another in different circumstances because I remember you when you were when you were awake before within your power. Like whoever you was before when you were awake, I remember that. You know what I'm saying? Like so in this form of being awake, you're not the same individuals, right? So then we'll see each other and be like, "Damn, yo, you feel so familiar to me for some reason." but we're living in this time, right? So certain things may be particular that make you just say, damn, why is that person so familiar to me? Well, I personally believe that we have different strong traits from when we were in our form of what you want to call rulership, or when we were ahead of the world as far as consciousness, right? So we were completely different beings when we were awake on our other side. See, and that's that yin and the yang. That's the both tails that play a particular role in life itself. So we have to understand why we have a left and a right hemisphere. We have to understand why there's left and right sides, why there's give and take. Like, instead of letting this world have all of the congestion of what that is, let's spread it wider into a broader perception and say, well, you know what? If this was one time and then the second time, just like as in I have two separate hemispheres of a brain, then one is more prominent now than the other one would be. Just like people who are more left hemispherical brain status now, they have more of what you want to call the structure of the work, and the paperwork and the signings and making money and all this stuff. But then people who are more right hemispheric, they're more into colors, into art, into pictures and stuff of that nature. And they try to consolidate and to say, well, kids come from the right hemisphere and then grow into the left hemisphere. Okay, but then at the same time, particularly the left hemisphere is what actually runs this society that we live in, right? Okay, so would it be telltale to say that the reason why we're diving deep and looking so much inside is because we're shaking the bed? We're waking us up like, hey, wake up now. It's time to wake up. Hey, come on, wake up. I need you to come back because it's doing too much left brain stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, wake up. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that what's going on? Like, and particularly, do we even remember the fact before? So, that sleeping wizard, he slept for a long time. You know what I mean? And then when he woke up, he was able to play his role again. So I don't think he even wanted to be awake in the time of the different time. So the tree grew around him. You know what I mean? And then when it was time for him to get up, the tree broke off, and he was like, "I'm up. I'm ready." You know what I'm saying? So it's just, to me particularly, I look at things on the plane of existence being existing. You know what I'm saying? So we can't separate anything, but in fact, we still have the power to elaborate on situations that will give us clarity. So how do we have the stories of medieval but don't play these roles? How do we have the story of Egyptian but we're not there? And then still, in fact, who's to say that that wasn't a form of the putting of is the reason why these great civilizations fell that way. Like, that's probably when the minds were getting put to sleep to rise up the other form of rulership, right? So who's to say that that's not particular? Because we have to go inside to actually access, right, our greater form of self. And then knowing that there is no divination in this time to take you away from what you're dealing with. You're going to deal with this shit regardless. Like, you're going to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? This is the reality of our time that we're going through right now. There's no way out of it. You know what I'm saying? So does that speak volumes in the fact of saying that overall this this side of the I'm gonna call the sleep synapses. This side of the sleep synapses was put to sleep, and now it's time to wake up. So therefore, we change the reality from corners and square boxes back to rounded situations to bring forth a balance. Because the ruling people at hand and their creations and their children's have no clue. They're just following, they're following the same detriment of, the ruler. So there's going to be something that's going to switch that and give them a different experience because nobody's actually right. But of I think the tilt of both understandings take place just to bring a balance. Like, so if you don't have it now and you're just not getting it for the circumstance of reality, oh, reality says this, it's just not like that. All right, idiot, you're doing that because you don't know nothing else. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna go ahead and switch the hourglass back to this side to where you have to take heave to that. You have to. It's not you're gonna have to no matter what. You know what I'm saying? You can't run away from it. And if you run away from it, you literally run away from your life, right? So I think particularly that um, the side that sleep inside of us all was an individual that does not think like we do. They have characteristic traits like we do in this time, but they're not exactly us. They're a more powerful version to maintain that. And if I if I may say that um, because of that circumstance, uh, and us being here a lot longer, it allow us to be more stronger in that form than this form because we have to be weaker to allow something else to learn from mistakes, right? So it's saying, all right, this is going to come in at this time. So, all right, that's fine. But if it's going to come in, then we can't be as strong because it won't give them time to learn. You see what I'm saying? So it had to weaken us. So it said, well, let's take that part that doesn't know anything and make that be the conscious characteristic of the original people and have them. And it's similar to a void, like, so it's like, wow, okay, we're living this time now, you know what I'm saying, without all the powers. And the reason why I'm focusing on that because it's been times, and I've repeated this in some of my other videos. It's been times where I was doing certain things, and I had electricity fly out of my fingertips. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, wait, can I do it again? And I had witnesses watch me do this, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Did you see that?" And they was like, "I'm hoping you saw that." You know what I'm saying? So, or I remember at 5 years old falling out of a 50, 60 foot oak tree, hitting every single branch coming down, and not being hurt. Just getting up and running home because I wasn't supposed to climb the tree anyway. But people would say, "Oh, you was just scared because your mom would have cut your ass." Okay. Any other time I got hurt or whatever, because I was afraid of her, it didn't stop me from getting hurt. You see what I'm saying? So it seems like the younger you were, the more closer you were to the person that just woke up. You know what I'm saying? Like, or the person that just went to sleep, I might say. So that person just went to sleep, or that characteristic just went to sleep from your God form. Now you're growing into the form of docileness so that you allow the other side of the spectrum to have a rulership so that they learn from their own mistakes. So then in the same tongue, we will get to an ending procession of that and then start to waking up the one that's sleep. And things will particularly start to happen as far as the mind synapses and elemental accesses inside the physical body and other things of this nature to where we bring a balance. So if you thought that was all powerful when they were ruling, here I am to show you that it's not. You know what I mean? And that will be a whole time of iniquity or antiquity to where it can play a role, documented, booked, logged before it has to go back. And we'll keep flipping this hourglass back and forth until there's a balance of understanding. So therefore, we get to the greeting of switching levels, like saying, well, okay, that level is coming of change. Well, I guide you into your level, brother. Rule strong and rule wisely. So therefore, we have the right understanding. So when the switch comes again, we could, you know what I'm saying? Like, there is no conversation for that. There's just like, hey, we're rolling now and da 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 da. Like, so it's still ego tended as far as the understanding of who, what, when, where, and how. I'm not going to go too deep. I just wanted to touch on that because I really believe, particularly, the fear mongering is only based on the fact that we don't remember we fell asleep. And this soft shell of who we are is not exactly what we are. It's just here to allow them to become more. All right? Ariel Naga El, respect. You already know what it is. Peace.